Good Lord. I mean, what could be more Orwellian than that? A federal government, the most powerful government in the world, engaged in narrative control. So your testimony here is that you will get CISA out of this business. You will comply with the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, and you will not engage in censorship of American citizens of any kind. Am I understanding you correctly?
Senator, to put it bluntly, yes, you are understanding me correctly.
Good. Let's talk about what that's going to look like in the election context. Obviously, CISA has important election security work, protecting our election infrastructure. That's important work. That's designated by statute. That, however, is different than monitoring political speech and monitoring political campaigns. How are you going to draw a line? Tell us how you're going to make the line clear between cybersecurity protections for our elections and political content moderation.
What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to Right View Nation, the home of bold truth, fearless talk, and unapologetic American values. If you love freedom, faith, and the Constitution, you're in the right place. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with every red-blooded American you know. Drop a comment below to let Big Tech know that we're not going anywhere. All right, folks, buckle up. What we just witnessed in that Senate exchange was nothing short of stunning, and frankly, it was long overdue. We have a nominee being grilled over one of the most disgusting abuses of power we've seen in recent American history, and I'm talking about the weaponization of CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, against the American people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to the nominees. Thank you for being here. Mr. Planky, if I could just start with you. One of the most troubling things that we have seen in the last few years when it comes to behavior by the government is the effort by the federal government to coerce and otherwise pressure social media companies to engage in mass censorship of private American citizens across a range of topics: COVID-19, vaccines, elections, school board meetings. And unfortunately, the agency that you've been nominated to lead was right in the thick of it, CISA. Much to that agency's shame, I must say, and I think in direct violation of the First Amendment of the United States, because what the Supreme Court has said over and over is the federal government cannot use private entities to do what the First Amendment bars the federal government from doing. And as you probably know, there's been much litigation about this. The discovery in that litigation is damning for many agencies in the federal government, including CISA. So my question is, what are you going to do to ensure that CISA gets out of the speech regulation business, the surveillance business when it comes to private American citizens, and gets back into what it's supposed to do, which is actually to keep us safe, not to regulate our speech, not to follow us around online, but to be stopping cyber attacks and ensuring cybersecurity?
Senator, thank you for that question. I believe to be an important one, and so does Secretary Noem and President Trump. It is not CISA's job, and nor is it in its authorities to censor or determine the truths, whether it be on social media or in any level of media. CISA will not do any of that work, will not be a part of any of that work if I am confirmed. I'd like to focus CISA on what it's mandated to do, and that's protect the federal civilian executive branch, as well as protect the critical infrastructure of the United States. Cybersecurity is a big enough problem. We have adversaries at our door, inside our house, and all over us every day. If confirmed, I need my people at CISA to be focused on eradicating those adversaries from the federal government, computer systems, as well as critical infrastructure of the United States.
Let me just read some of the euphemisms that your predecessor used to talk about CISA's mission and the censorship effort: narrative control, perception management, information integrity. That was my favorite. You're telling me you're going to get CISA out of the business of policing narrative control. I mean, narrative control, good Lord. I mean, what could be more Orwellian than that? A federal government, the most powerful government in the world, engaged in narrative control? So your testimony here is that you will get CISA out of this business. You will comply with the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, and you will not engage in censorship of American citizens of any kind. Am I understanding you correctly?
Senator, to put it bluntly, yes, you are understanding me correctly.
Good. Let's talk about what that's going to look like in the election context. Obviously, CISA has important election security work, protecting our election infrastructure. That's important work. that's designated by statute. That, however, is different than monitoring political speech and monitoring political campaigns. How are you going to draw a line? Tell us how you're going to make the line clear between cybersecurity protections for our elections and political content moderation, which again is unfortunately what your agency has been involved in recent years.
Senator, thank you for that question. If confirmed, CISA's role, election security, is a subsector of critical infrastructure, and it's election infrastructure that is the piece of that. And the president has already given guidance on this in his recent executive order. That guidance says that the Department of Homeland Security will focus on electronic election systems, so e.g. like a voting system, and that a American might use to vote, to ensure that it is assessed prior to an election that there is no adversarial actions or vulnerabilities in it. Now that is tasked in the president's executive order that he has already thought of, down to DHS. If Secretary Noem tasks CISA to do that, which I could imagine she likely will, my team, if confirmed, will focus on the assessments of that election infrastructure.
Good. Well, everything you said to me is encouraging. I'm glad to hear it. I know that you appreciate that CISA has a major trust deficit given what's happened in the last 4 years. And that's a problem because, we've gone so far in this body, there are tasks that, frankly, CISA ought to be performing, including things related to like the security of rural hospitals, which is very important to me, very important to my state. 40% of the hospitals in my state are rural. We need the cybersecurity help. But frankly, we've been very reluctant to use CISA for any of this because CISA has been a surveillance and censorship machine for the last 4 years. This has got to stop. We've got to get this agency back on track, and I hope that you're the right person to do it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's call it what it is: government-sponsored censorship. For years, we've been screaming from the rooftops that the federal government, under the guise of safety and misinformation prevention, has been pressuring, coercing, and even colluding with big tech companies to silence you. And now it's official. It's real. It's happening. COVID? They silenced doctors. Vaccines? You couldn't question a single narrative. Elections? Say anything outside the party line and boom, banned, shadow banned, deplatformed. Even parents speaking up at school board meetings were treated like domestic terrorists. And right smack in the middle of this Orwellian nightmare? CISA. Yeah, the agency that's supposed to be stopping cyberattacks was instead spending its time trying to control narratives, manage perception, and promote information integrity. Sounds noble, right? Wrong. It's just fancy language for tyranny. One senator put it best: what could be more Orwellian than the most powerful government in the world engaging in narrative control? I'll tell you what, that same government pretending it's for your own good. So here we are, with this new nominee, Mr. Planky, finally being asked the hard questions. And to his credit, he said the right things. CISA will not police speech. CISA will not censor Americans. CISA will focus on its core duty, cybersecurity. Sounds great, right? But forgive us for not throwing a parade just yet. Because let me be brutally honest, the trust is gone. The American people don't trust these agencies anymore, and for good reason. Remember, for the past 4 years, CISA operated like the thought police. They weren't defending the Constitution, they were actively violating it. They became the propaganda arm of the deep state, targeting conservatives, parents, and anyone who dared to think for themselves. We don't need empty promises. We don't need more bureaucrats reading off talking points. We need accountability. We need a purge of every federal agency that thinks it's their job to regulate truth. Now let's talk about the elections, because this is where it gets dangerous. Mr. Planky says CISA's role will strictly be to protect election infrastructure, like voting machines, from foreign hackers. Fine, but we've heard this before, haven't we? 1 minute they're securing the system, the next they're monitoring election disinformation, which is code for suppressing conservative voices. It's a fine line, and we're watching closely. You want to protect our votes? Great, but don't you dare touch political speech. Don't you dare monitor campaigns, flag posts, or play referee in our democratic process. That's not your job. That's not your right. And that's sure as hell not American. Let me make this crystal clear for the folks in D.C. The First Amendment isn't optional. It's not up for interpretation. The Constitution doesn't disappear because you don't like what someone said on Twitter or Facebook. We are not subjects. We are not bots. We are we the people, and we don't kneel to unelected censors in Washington. So what now? We hold the line. We demand oversight. We support patriots who ask the tough questions, and we fire every official who dares to infringe on our God-given rights. And here at Right View Nation, we're not backing down. We're going to keep calling it out. Keep exposing the lies. Because if we don't, who will? If you're fired up like I am, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it far and wide, and comment below. Tell me what you think CISA's real agenda is. The fight for freedom starts with truth, and Right View Nation is leading the charge. United States, stay loud, stay proud, and stay free. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.